Hey, Jenny Jones here, Digital Growth Hacks Club. Listen, today is going to be that day. Um, Excited you guys decided to join me here today. Let me know if my mic is good and we got everything because I never want to get going. It's like, wait, what's going on here? So yeah, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Let people know that the juice is going on right here at the Digital Growth Hacks Club. I what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start guaranteeing some few things, right? So being in investment business, I cannot make guarantees, but what I'm gonna start doing is guaranteeing at least that you've learned one thing or get one takeaway when you tune in, because I don't want people to be wasting their time. Um, so again, I want to get right into it. We have a special guest today. Ben, he is the CEO and founder of HeySummit. He's going to come on. Before I bring him onto the stage, I want to know you guys' interest. Are you looking at it? Are you kicking the tires? Do you have it? Did you pick it up? Go ahead and let me know in the comments there. And again, also give us a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that we're bringing the Jenny Juice here today. All right. So hey, listen, if I am tall boy says I'm good, I'm good. Because that dude, he is the streaming goat or the streaming god, right? If you guys need help with your streaming setup, reach out to that guy, follow his channel. He's got some good juice. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get Ben, bring him on to the stage. I've been following Ben for a while. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm gonna see if he's gonna find out. See if he can answer some of my trick questions here. Ben, how you doing, sir?
Hey, very well. I'm feeling a little bit uneasy that you've been following me for so long, but great to be here.
Yeah, no. So I'm gonna give you a single shot, and I'm gonna give you a 60-second elevator pitch of you can either share who Ben is and HeySummit, or you can actually we want to know who Ben is first. So I'm gonna give you a single shot. Share with Ben because it's not our first time. You've done a couple of things on AppSumo, but then I'm gonna bring you back into single shot. And then I want you to tell us what we can look forward to in this HeySummit, and then kind of why you're back. So I'm gonna just put you in a single shot here. Who is Ben Benjamin?
Deep, the psychology behind it. So I'm Ben. I'm based in the UK. Family of 3 kids, dog, wife, usual sort of stuff. But at the core, I'm a product-focused founder. Is kind of the way to think about me. I love solving sort of problems that often prevent businesses and typically kind of SMBs and creators and that sort of space is kind of what drives me. But I like solving problems that sort of often prevent that type of business from growing and establishing growth and growing their brand and all those sorts of things, because I know how tough it is. There's so many so-called tricks and things out there, and very few of them work. And often it's just the simple things done right. And so I've kind of spent my time in the past and today creating companies and products that help you, win at building your brand and growing your audience and things like that. And that's absolutely what HeySummit does. It's a virtual event platform that helps you build your authority, grow your audience, generate revenue, leads, whatever it is you're looking to do, and all the while making your brand and yourself sort of look fantastic and professional and all those sorts of things. So that's it in a nutshell. There's obviously a lot more we can dig into with regards to HeySummit, but that's kind of what drives me. I love kind of, we're sort of 7 years in now with HeySummit, and we're still, in fact, we're picking up pace more, if anything, with regards to the innovation and the sort of the changes and tweaks and improvements we're throwing into the product. That's what gets me out of bed each morning.
Nice. So I like the fact that you're a family man. That means you're kind of settled and can't jump off the cliff and do crazy stuff, right? I don't mean that intentionally. I see some founders where they're all over the place and they're like, oh, we got a business today. And then they're like, let's scrap it. You're like, whoa, slow down. We can't just be doing this and doing that. So I guess my first question would be, you started out on AppSumo 2009. Was it 2019?
Yeah.
So you started on 2019, you brought HeySummit. I'm sure it does not look like what it looks like now. And I actually think I saw it back then, but I think there was another competing something else, because I think we were trying to move into this realm here of live streaming and all that. And I don't even think it was feature rich like it was back then, the way it is now. So tell us about back then what you were trying to accomplish when you came to AppSumo, and then now that you're back, what you're trying to accomplish at AppSumo. Because we'll talk about the upgrades later, but let's just say what you're trying to accomplish then, and then what you're trying to accomplish now.
Yeah, I mean, they say all best products, all of the best products should be ugly to start with, and ours was certainly ugly, at least in my eyes. And that's kind of as it should be. I think products start with one particular vision and then kind of expand and grow from there. And so I guess our sort of reason for doing the very first deal, as you say, back in 2019, that feels like another era, doesn't it? I mean, such a long time ago. Was really just to sort of catapult and kickstart the business and kind of work out kind of our core market and kind of expand from there. And it did that really, really well. We had a fantastically successful launch back then. But it was a launch. We didn't know that much about the market, or let's put it another way. We thought we knew what we knew. We didn't know what we didn't know, and all those sort of juicy things in between. And so this was a chance to kind of learn rapidly and scale out, get a bit of cash injection, and sort of create our path from there. Why back today? It's a bit of the same, to be fair. I mean, because the product has changed so much, and yet one thing that we've constantly sort of iterated on is kind of who our core market is and who our core audience is, and it's constantly come back to that kind of creator space and educator sort of space. And if I'm honest, I think we sort of lost our way a little bit with a focus on that particular audience in the last few years, because COVID does what COVID does. I say that as if it's a common thing. It was a once in a generational thing, but it did what it did, which was it brought all the big companies to us. And so we lost our focus a little bit on kind of who our real customer is. And so although we've always served them and have done over the last sort of 5 years, I almost wanted to kind of superpower our knowledge and insights back into that kind of audience sort of profile as quickly as possible. And so in doing another launch on AppSumo, I knew what it would do. It would immediately kind of put us in front of our audience again and kind of just rapidly learn. But the more businessy sort of answer is, there's an acquisition strategy there as well. A company like, or a platform like HeySummit that runs events, you have this sort of viral coefficient that sort of kicks in for obvious reasons. Every customer will have X number of speakers, X number of sponsors, X number of attendees. And so in a very, very simplistic sense, the more eyeballs on a HeySummit event, whatever that event happens to be, the more sort of traction we get more broadly. And so it's kind of looking to that next phase of our growth and just sort of looking to maximize as many eyeballs on HeySummit as possible. And AppSumo is a great way to do that. So lots of different reasons, but that's kind of the core kind of focus.
So that's the core reason. Yeah. So we've seen this. I'm not going to say we've seen this happen maybe 2 times. I'm not going to bring up the other companies where we've seen where companies did well, then they came back, then they took another bite of the apple, and then the next thing you know, and they took a bite of the apple for a reason, and that reason was there was investors saying, "Hey, we need to know, you need to get to X amount of subscribers before we even can take you seriously, and or possibly give you an infusion of cash, or before we possibly merge or acquire you." Is that something? Or I mean, if it's proprietary information that we understand, but if we're saying, hey, we're genuinely back to try to focus on the small creators and the next generation of creators and wanted to dive into them, then that's genuinely what you. But if not, and he's like, it's got a mix of different things. So I guess that's one of the questions that I have is, I mean, you're back, you have your product has grown up tremendously, and it's like you're checking all the boxes for what we may need as a rapper or a live stream monetary platform. So I just want to leave that open.
Yeah, there for you. Look, I think the proof's in the pudding. I mean, as you say, the product is, I'm a little bit biased, but it is a fantastically powerful, beautiful, well thought out product, and it's only going to get better. We're not bringing a failed product back to the scene. It's not that kind of trajectory that we're talking about here. Now, in terms of the investor, obviously, there's only so much I can say. We're not going to give you the, share to the world kind of the inner workings of our business here. But I think it's worth saying that we already have investors, not down the VC route. That's not something that sort of inspires or kind of excites me, I must confess. We have a few investors. They're fantastic people, individuals. They have my back. They trust what we're doing here, and there's absolutely no pressure. Certainly not a go out there and get more sort of subscribers, because quite frankly, most investors don't want the greatest possible way. It's going to sound horrible, this, but they don't want AppSumo investors. They don't want lifetime customers, because that's not what really matters in terms of what investors are looking for. So no, this is not an investor play. This is not about ramping up to an investor sort of play. We are comfortable with the investors we have, and there's no plans to do another round of investment or anything like that. We're growing rapidly in that
I guess
space.
I'll leave that one there. I mean, myself, I being an investment advisor and working with founders and being in the securities industry for almost 25 years, I can attest to that. Yeah, they don't want links. They don't want.
We want them. Just to be absolutely clear, I love the AppSumo community. Feedback we get, but
I mean,
a typical investor doesn't see that a meaningful.
They don't. Yeah, they don't understand that. The reason why you want them is like, hey, they help us build the perfect prototype product, or they help us put together the best product that will survive and or be profitable in the future for monthly subscribers or annual subscribers. So I get that, and I understand that. And you sound like the type of founder that's like, hey, you know what? We're not going to give away the whole farm, but we do want to understand what it is that we need to do. So let's get more into the tool. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate and people know, founders know, they don't come here. I don't put them in a hey, gotcha. It's just, I just kind of wanted to know, because I've went all in. I started out with, I think, a tier 3 or a tier 3. And then I started to see the value. I pulled it off the shelf. I started to see the value in it. So tell us, I think a lot of people are confused. I was like, oh, if I just buy HeySummit, that's all I need to buy. And I'm like, well, it addresses maybe 90 to 95% of the small creators' issues. I think that other 5%, can you kind of explain? I mean, in that, to me, server costs of videos and all that, I understand that's a whole nother expense. So you're saying, hey, if you bring your own server or your way to get videos, then we'll find a way to monetize it for you and or capitalize on the revenue you should be getting. You want to talk about that strategy a little bit? Or
yeah, no, I think it's a fascinating sort of thing to talk about. Actually, I could go on about it for quite a while, so I'll try not to, but I'll hopefully boil it down to its salient parts. The way I like to think about it is that you've got a bunch of companies, just going to throw them out, like Zoom, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever, right? Whether they're webinar platforms, streaming platforms, YouTube, pre-recorded on-demand videos, whatever. Their core focus is obviously the streaming bit, the broadcasting bit, the storage bits, the bit rates, all that sort of stuff. And consequently, because they're putting so much engineering effort into those things, it means that all of the other sort of supplementary, tertiary kind of bits are never quite good enough. And that's why we've tackled it from the exact opposite direction. And that's for two reasons. One, because actually I think what you do to wrap around that broadcasting element is arguably far more important than any individual broadcast itself. How do you get distribution? How do you convert customers when they're on your or attendees when they're on your landing page? How do you monetize your content? How do you create meaningful email sequences and affiliate programs and reporting and analytics to understand what's going on? Those are arguably far more important. And so we've tackled it that way around for that reason, but also because it didn't make sense when we started out to try and compete directly with Zoom. There are already a dime a dozen streaming solutions out there. Why would we waste our time trying to create something that you can just get off the shelf? They're a dime a dozen. But ironically, we will eventually, and actually we're in the process of some internal planning, eventually get to a point where we have our own streaming studio and on-demand hosting solution. And so the big sort of picture here is that at some point, and I must say that this is just early stage planning, so we don't know any of the details yet and how it'll be priced and all that sort of stuff, and whether it'll be included on any plans. We don't know yet. We haven't looked at the numbers in that sort of level. But we want to get to a point where customers can either use a whole raft of supported third-party broadcasting solutions so that they can continue to use Zoom or continue to use whatever they love using already, OneStream that we're in now, or use our own because it's just one click, one less sort of thing to think about. So that's the goal. But certainly to start with, it was all about let's get the meaningful experiential brand stuff right first.
So everyone else, so you let everyone else like Zoom, hey, you can deliver the meat, but as far as the bun, the lettuce, tomatoes, ketchup, and all that, you guys wanted to deliver. And that's a very good strategy because I think some of them built the streaming first, and then all the other ancillary pieces they're trying to bolt on, or it's not really. You guys say, hey, listen, we got the shell. If you can show up with your streaming, so hopefully that answered some of the initial questions that people had. One of the questions that Radiance had is she's a very strong contributor to my community, although she goes missing sometimes in my private community. I'm gonna put her on blast so I can make her show back up. Can I stream both live and pre-recorded sessions in one event? For example, a live opening session and a pre-recorded breakout message.
Yeah, it's the short answer, and that's one of the advantages of having this sort of plug and play, mix and match kind of third-party integration sort of setup we have. You can have your 9 a.m. over Zoom, your 10 a.m. could be a live stream through OneStream, then you could have your other ones through Vimeo because they're all pre-recorded, completely up to you. And so really what a customer is typically doing in a typical HeySummit event is first asking, what format do I want for this talk? So, and then thinking, well, what is the provider that's going to best provide that? Because they all have their own little specialities, as they should. So if you need actual breakout rooms, Zoom meetings is a great solution for that. If you don't use it. Use OneStream, sorry, or Zoom webinars or something else. So yeah, short answer is yeah, you can mix and match as much as you need.
So I have one question here by Tall Boy. He's like, hey, so what's the difference between your original deal versus your new deal? You don't have to get into a whole bunch of specifics because I do want to concentrate on the new deal. But if you can just kind of give him like a 40,000 foot view, hey, the old deal did this. We didn't even have these features then. And then the new deal gives you that. So just real quick on that, spend about, a couple of seconds on that just to.
Sure. No, I don't have right in front of me the exact specifics of the features you got on the original 2019 deal. It's such a long time ago. But in essence, the things to take away from this is that they are actually both pegged to the growth plan that we have, which is our middle plan. So in that sense, they share a lot of commonalities. But there are some differences, typically in terms of the attendee numbers, event numbers, team numbers, I think, and the transaction fees. There are one or two features that weren't included as well. I think webhooks weren't included in the original, but are in this one. So there are some differences. And look, I'll be honest. I'll what's the phrase? Pull the rug or whatever. Not pull the rug. That's not the right word. Give you an insight into kind of the journey a founder goes on when running an AppSumo deal, because you have an expectation that you're going to launch it with a certain set of tiers, right? And to be fair, a lot of that is actually suggested and dictated is the wrong word, but sort of outlined by AppSumo. They'll look at your pricing tiers and they'll say, look, this is what we think Sumoling is going to want and need. And so, that's what happened here, and just agreed with it and said, yeah, that looks good. And actually very quickly in launching the event, we've only been live 1 week since today, actually. It turned out that people were pushing back on transaction fees and a couple of other bits and bobs as well. They wanted webhooks and API support. And so we went back, and actually within 24 hours, we reduced the transaction fees. And just for fun, we kind of thought we'd increase all of the attendee limits as well, even though no one had complained about it. But we are getting a bit of pushback. And the reason I mention this is because of the question about the difference between the original 2019 deal and this one. We're now just seeing a little bit of pushback on that. And our stance has been always, just because it felt like the most practical way to deal with things, given how much time has passed since 2019 and 2025 now, that you can add your 2025 deal to an existing HeySummit account. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. We'll simply give you the best of the two if they're conflicting. So if you've got whatever your transaction fee is in 2019, and you buy a new deal now with a different transaction fee, we'll give you the better of the two, whichever one. We won't put you in a worse position. But we said from the start that you can't convert 2019 codes into 2025 codes, because it just felt like there were two different times, different deals, different parameters,
Definitely.
etc. But we are getting pushback on it, and it's challenging me to kind of work out whether we took the right stance in the first place. And so I'm just to let if anyone has that sort of question in the back of their minds, if they were with us since 2019, I'm speaking with AppSumo to try and get their advice on what other companies have done in the past, where they've had a bit of time in between deals, and do they let you convert? Do they have a hard no? What is their stance and recommendation? Because I'll be honest, I don't know. It just felt like that was the best sort of default position to take. So I know that wasn't the exact sort of question that was asked there, but I know it's often a follow-on question.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine.
And all that sort of stuff.
I think that's fine, because I think when people Sumo links, if we originally ride with you like in 2019, we're like, hey, we were early adopters. We believed in you back then. So don't try to dog us out now that you're back and you got new life. What they need to understand, and we need to find a happy medium, is, dude, we started out, we only had 5 features. Now we have 50, right? And so you got to absorb some of the costs for us to be able to provide those new services. And we didn't even know we'd get to 50 features from the 5 we initially started with. And I think it's only fair. You have to have a business mind first to understand that. And I really get disappointed when people think they should just get everything free. It's like, everything free? No. I mean, some things, and I think there needs to be a happy medium. That's why I even asked on the comments, is like, hey, I'm willing to go up and get some of the higher features, and even beyond the growth, and even willing to pay some of the at a reduced cost, because I really feel that as a Sumo Ling, we feel that we were able to get access to something before other people got access to it. We kind of served as a quote unquote kind of a testing ground for you, and we're able to give you feedback, which would have cost you thousands just to get that, just to do all that other stuff. So I think there needs to be a happy medium. I think people need to be realistic of what it actually would cost, but I think there could be a middle ground. I think people need to be willing, and what will they digest? And nothing's better than free, right? Everybody wants free, but nothing's better than free.
Yeah, you can't go up against that if that's what the ask is. No, I'm with you there, and I think probably the solution. By the way, I solve problems quite often by talking through them. So this is like a therapy session. This is useful. But yeah. I agree. I think it's probably a case of finding that happy medium and seeing where that gets us. And I think that's what for anyone watching and curious how we'll deal with that. I think that's where we'll end up. I don't know what that will be, but we'll aim to respond to that in due course.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not going to solve that here on this call. I'm definitely open to having if you wanted to have a small think tank you want to put together, and we can kind of come up with a happy medium. We could do that, and we can set that up, and I can use some of my community and some of the other people that follow my channel. We can kind of just come up with a happy medium and try to figure out we can solve this. It's not going to be perfect for everybody, but I think where HeySummit is right now, we're going to discuss that. And I'm thinking this is when I pulled your tool off. Let's pivot back to that. When I pulled your tool off the shelf, and I was like, oh, so you mean I can do this and do this, right? And I think that's what Radiance was saying, to the fact that I don't have a tool now. Now I do have, and I think even in 2019, when you came up with this, I mean, there was really no true way to monetize any type of video activity or webinars or you had to be in their webinar ecosystem. And I think they were wanting exorbitant amounts to do that, because they had already built it out. They had the right to charge that. Now, fast forward 2025, a lot of us have our own payment gateways that are separate from the streaming platforms that we may do. So I can charge someone access to this platform if I only did this off of YouTube and I just did it through the platform. I have a payment gateway that I can do that. So now that you guys have that now, I was fascinated the fact, okay, so they have a payment gateway, but they're able to do this. And the payment gateway is more flexible to the fact that, hey, here's your early bird cost is $50. if you get it after this date, it's $60. But if you get the day of, it's $100. So talk about, these are things that I don't think people are getting this. And talk about some of those features and enhancement that you may get with a HeySummit, but you may not get with even your current payment gateway. Even though they may give you access to Stripe, they're not going to give you these flexibilities in the different types of payment structures that you guys do. I think this is some of the things people are missing.
Yeah, for sure. We spend a lot of time thinking about monetization for obvious reasons. It's often what, not every customer, quite often customers are just looking to build audience and leads, but more often than not, monetization is a core part of what they're using HeySummit for. And so we go to great lengths to kind of think about and listen and get feedback, et cetera, et cetera. So there are 3 core ways in HeySummit that you can kind of monetize your events. One is through tickets, the other one is through add-ons, and the third one is through donations. Donations will just park because that's kind of quite a specific use case. You're a nonprofit, or you're trying to generate some money for a community feature or whatever it happens to be. With tickets and add-ons, tickets give you a lot of flexibility around how you then, well, first of all, the ticket is what determines what people get to access and consume within your event. So do they get to watch the live broadcasts and the replays, or just the replays, or just the broadcasts? Do you want to restrict them to certain talks or categories of talks, or to expire the ticket after 24 hours, et cetera, et cetera? So there's a lot of sort of granularity you can go into there. Just FYI, some of those features are on the top tier. So I just, in case there's any confusion there. But with the pricing, you can then create as many tiers within that ticket as you want. So as you say, you can have like an early bird price where it's this price before the event starts, and then it's this price when the event finishes. It's this price during these particular dates. You can even create bulk prices for anyone who buys between 5 and 10, or 10 and more. You can kind of really go granular and create a whole plethora of prices. But what's really good is that when we think about add-ons, the add-ons bring a couple of extra additional unique attributes to them, to the party. One is that they can do all the things we were just talking about with the tickets, the tiers, what is it you can get to access? Is it a replay add-on? Is it an add-on for a particular interview series you're going to do once a month, et cetera, et cetera? But what's further unique about add-ons is that you can treat it as a bit of a merchandise e-commerce play. So think of people who want to sell their book, or a mug, or a t-shirt, or perhaps an hour's consulting call, or maybe they're selling merch or services on behalf of their speakers or sponsors. You can now kind of bundle these additional value-added things as part of your kind of checkout flow, so that you can kind of really maximize that revenue through that entire experience. Because once you have the attention of your audience, there's no better time to kind of give them some value-added options to enhance their experience. And then layering on top of all of that, we have an affiliate program just baked into the core kind of HeySummit platform. No third-party integrations, nothing like that. Just works, included on all plans. All you need to worry about is the payouts. We'll deal with everything else in terms of the tracking, the attribution, the reporting, et cetera, et cetera.
So let me ask you this. In 2019, did you have the affiliate piece?
Very, very basic version. Yes, I think, but very, very basic.
So, I mean, to me, right. And I don't even want to keep going back to 2019. That's so long. That's so many years ago. I was going to call it something else, but it's because of the evolution of this digital creators evolution. That was like Stone Age ago, and things have changed. So my question is, I think, let me ask you this, and we got a couple of questions we're going to get to, and then we're going to talk about some of the money making. So we're 30 minutes in. We're going to talk about some of the strategies of making money with the tool. So let me ask you this: if I bring you on as a speaker, Ben's going to speak at one of my summits. Can I sell Ben's merch? And what is that? Is that going to hit my Stripe, or is that even possible? You come on, he says, "Hey man, I'm going to come on. I got some books I want to sell. I'm going to sell some coaching plans as well." How does that work? Or I'd have to trick the system to make it work well?
No, that can work without any tricking. The only thing to note there is that that's you setting those up as the organizer. It's not something currently that the speaker can do themselves. So the speaker can't go into their own, because by the way, one of the, for people who aren't aware, speakers can either be managed 100% by you as the organizer, or you can kind of partially manage them and then invite the speaker into their own private dashboard, which is one of the unique things about HeySummit, so that they can kind of be kept in the loop. They can see swipe copy that you shared, FAQs. They can manage their bio and social links and all that sort of stuff.
I don't think
and they can in there they can create their own offers and giveaways, but promotional stuff, not sellable stuff. And so you can, as the organizer, create any number of add-ons as you want that are then purchasable in your event. And if that happens to be a service that one of your speakers is providing, all power to you. You can do that. That's completely up to you. It's your Stripe or PayPal account that you're connecting. So the funds go straight into yours. So obviously you would need to A, have an agreement with the speaker or speakers that you're going to sell their things, and B, agree with them how they're going to get paid and all that, because it would be money that you would be receiving that you would then need to pay out to them. So that's something you would work out.
You're definitely going to see that on your taxes. So you need to settle that up.
Yeah. Now we may streamline, we almost certainly will streamline that kind of workflow at some point in the future, because if we see a demand for it, it doesn't necessarily, you might want to have contracts drawn up or different way. Maybe the speaker can connect their own Stripe. And so it sort of appears completely seamless to the attendee, but behind the scenes, one money is going to the speaker and one bit of money is going to you. So there's different ways to solve it, but for now you would do it yourself as the organizer.
All right, so let's because I want to say I'm getting a lot of questions in. I want to kind of save those towards the end, and we'll pick up on a few of them. One of the questions, I want to get into some money making opportunities for people, because people know my channel is about, hey, how can I get my ROI out of this tool? If I go spend what, 300, because I've been recommending to my audience, everyone is, hey, you got to get the highest tier to be able to fully utilize this like it should be used. I've been recommending people. So if people go and spend 345, we are going to talk about other questions, but if people go, how can they instantly recoup? And give us some ideas, because I think Radiance got to some of them. I think we had some other people give us an idea or give us a use case or how people are using it and they're instantly making their money back. Because the game has changed since 2019.
Oh, for sure.
This is different. A lot of people are building communities and doing some other different things. So tell us, what are people still using? Maybe not even the mature creator, but let's talk about, if I bought this today and I have a small audience, I'm trying to get off the ground, what is one of the things that I could do? And I know you have these fireside chats and other stuff ideas. So give us one takeaway by people using my affiliate code today that they can make money in the next 30, 60 days.
Well, before I give you a couple of ideas, let me just talk briefly about the ROI portion of it. Because,
okay, that's fine.
I can't remember the price of tier 5. Is it what, $3, $4, $5 or something like that?
345, yeah.
Okay. So on average for customers, and this is surveyed over 8,000 recent events run, for customers that run paid events, so completely excluding free ones, obviously, on average, they will make about $16,000 per event. Now, that's excluding, we will get rid of the outliers on the low end, not the top end, but on the low end. So we'll cut out anyone who is, I don't know, I think it's something like 50 or fewer attendees. So people who are clearly just testing and not really running anything properly, we'll strip those out. So as long as you get over more than 50, or I think it might possibly be 100 attendees, and you're doing it for paid, on average, people will make about 16K per event. So there is absolutely money to be made. Now, obviously, what really matters is the quality of the event and the content and all that sort of stuff. But that's the average there. So you're set up to do well. It's a medium that works incredibly well without a huge amount of thought and process, and that's because of the platform within HeySummit and how it all sort of puts it all together for you. And so when we think about ideas, I think so there's a couple of things. It depends what angle you want to take on here. Is it more sort of a content idea or a monetization ticketing strategy idea?
I mean, I don't want to get into content. I don't want to get into a ticketing strategy. I'm just talking about how people are using it. Like, we know the basic way. I want to talk about some creative ways. So we know everybody here can run a basic webinar, or they've been to a basic webinar, right? Are people still doing evergreen, right? I know that was first generation, second generation. Are people still doing evergreen or kind of a hybrid? I've been to some where they'll start off, they'll come up on stage, they'll kick it off, and then they'll move to a slide. Now they're talking to the slide, but the slide is more or less are recorded, and then they'll come on at the end, or they're still answering questions on the chat. I mean, are people still kind of doing that in a sense? Or?
Yes, no. So look, high level thoughts in no particular order. So let's first of all just think about the different modes that you can run on HeySummit. You've got at one end, you've got your sort of one-off workshops / webinars. At the other end, you've got your full-on multi-day summit. So multiple days, multiple talks. And then in the middle, you've got a single day summit. So 5 talks on one day. And then outside of that, but sort of in a different sort of style, you've got kind of your on-demand courses. So you can do a course also on HeySummit. And the thing that unifies them all is they're all video-based experiences. It's kind of the simple way to think about it. When we think about those single webinars, typically that's not where you should go if you're looking to monetize, because you can, and if it's high value, you can, but because you're delivering just a single webinar, it's got to be really high value for someone to be willing to sort of pay for that, because typically people are used to kind of their being quite ephemeral, quite sort of easy to dive into, and sort of, they're going to watch the replay, and they don't really typically expect those to be a paid thing, though there are exceptions, of course. And so really what we're talking about, if you want to make some money from your experience within HeySummit, is to run some sort of single or multi-day event, which is basically to say a handful or more of individual talks. And that's where the real money-making power and opportunity is, in bringing together, it could even be a handful, like literally 5. It doesn't have to be a huge one, but just bringing together 5 or so. And if you can do 10 or 20, fantastic, but it doesn't have to be. Experts in a field that you're passionate about, that you have an audience around. Mm-hmm. And when one of the great things about virtual events, single or multi-day, doesn't matter, is that almost the more niche you go, the more money you can make, because you really are then putting in front of people a collection of content that they are passionate about, and they know they are unlikely to be able to get from anywhere else. I was on a call with a customer just a few hours ago who puts on an event specifically about migraines. We've had customers, and they do really well. I've had customers who do the most niche thing you can think of, and those are the ones that make the most money. So if you're coming into this thinking, I can't necessarily, I don't think there's enough people that can would be interested in my topic. You don't need a huge number. The multiples work pretty well. So yeah, that's kind of the core sort of thinking there. Start with a single day summit if you can, 5 or so talks. That's going to be your best sort of foray into monetizing that first experience within HeySummit.
Okay. All right. So can you tell us about, you have this course piece, right? Or it can be used as I think what you guys said I see you guys' questions in there, by the way. I'm going to get to them. You have this piece that says a self-study course, which self-study courses, a lot of people complete them. Some people don't. So tell us about the self-course study I think you guys have, or something like that, or what does that do? How does that work?
Well, you've got me confused now with the terminology that we used. It's not self-study, it's something like self-paced, something like that. So essentially it's, there's no set order that you need to go through. We'll probably add that functionality in the future so that you have to go through in a certain sequence. Right. But it's self-paced, so you can kind of dip in and out as you see fit, and we'll show you what you've watched, what you haven't, and etc. And that's great. I mean, we've got if you want to check out an example of that, if you're watching this live or on the replay, head over to course.02summit.com. And that's just a free course we've put together. It's designed to be exactly that, to help you put on an event from zero to nothing, and works you through all the steps. And all it is really is a video-centric course with transcripts. But we've been playing around with a new course player as a different way of presenting those videos in a slightly more unified sort of experience.
Now, the course player, we still have to bring our own server, right? We still
yes. So it's still an embeddable pre-recorded video from Vimeo in our case, or wherever it is. But we sort of, again, create that wraparound experience we've spoken about before.
So with that being said, if I'm on a Zoom plan that only allows for 100 attendees, then how do I make use of your highest tier, 35,000 attendees? What if I have 1,000 that want to attend? So basically, does the stream, you provide the opportunity to stream? Let's not use Zoom. Let's use another platform that says, hey, you can only have so many attendees. Are we capped from that, or we use the embed and we get to more audience or sell more tickets?
Good question. So yeah, I mean, for obvious reasons, we can't, we don't impose limits on Zoom or other providers. They have their own limits, and they are what they are. And so if you have a plan, let's just take the one you gave, and you've got 35,000 capacity in HeySummit, that covers traffic, registrations, email sending, and all those sorts of things, all baked in, replay watches, etc., etc. But if you then are looking to run a live session on Zoom webinar or something like that, and your plan has a limit of 1,000, then obviously that limit is a limit. And so you just need to, if you know you're going to have a much larger event with that number of attendees watching live, then you need to make sure you either upgrade your Zoom or choose a third-party integration that doesn't have those limits or has more generous ones. And there are some simple ways around this. You know, if we look at OneStream and other things like that, you can you can embed OneStream directly in your HeySummit event, and now OneStream doesn't really care, I don't believe, how many are watching it, because we're just streaming that all through there. And so I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know OneStream intimately, but I don't think they have a
trust me, you're moving to another server, by the way, because you don't get the same kind of juice off of being inside of that. Okay, so that makes sense. All right, so now we're stuck on this. We got like 6-7 questions. People are late to the party. Hey, you guys got to show up, man, if you want to know where the juice is. Ben has already talked about how people say, hey, I got 5 codes last time. I got to get another 5 codes. And he said he didn't say that. What he's saying is they're going to give you the best of whatever you buy. You're going to get the best of whatever that is. So if you're going to buy and you want a lower cost, I don't know. We got to come back. Ben, we got to have we got to get this settled. Because I'm telling you, I think your tool is too good to be held back by people who are super early adopters, pre-COVID adopters, and now people post-COVID adopters, because the dynamics have changed. We have to find a middle road. We're going to have. So those questions, Ben, we got to find a way to get these people satisfied, because they had you already, right? And I don't know. We got to come back to that one. We're not going to be able to get that one settled here, not on this call.
No, I mean, look, I hope one thing for anyone who's spent more than 30 seconds on the AppSumo deal page and looked at the hundreds and hundreds of responses I've given to questions asked, is that I listen and that I care and that I'm a human. I'm not a robot kind of giving regurgitated kind of responses. I like to listen, and I care about us doing the right thing as a business and everything else. And I don't know the answer, is just the honest truth right now, in terms of how we accommodate 2019 purchases with 2025. They're different deals. Should we combine them? I don't know if that's going to be too messy. I don't know the answer, but I can assure you that I'm listening carefully. It doesn't feel like we've found the right solution right now. We've got to find, as you said at the beginning, a bit of middle ground there. And so what you will get is an update on that deal page as soon as I possibly can. I'll aim for sort of tomorrow morning. I can't promise that, but that's my goal, is to have some clarity on that within the next 24 hours, let's say. And hopefully, we'll find a solution there. But, if anyone is listening, I can't see the chat, by the way, Jenny, so you'll have to let me know if anyone does comment this. But if anyone's listening that has 2019 codes, and you can share any insights as to where that main kind of gripe is, what the focus on that is, and what the friction is, if you will. Let me know, because obviously you want everything for everything, and everyone wants everything for free. But like, what is the ideal outcome here? Is it just sort of parity on one particular feature, or I don't know? It'd be lovely to hear that. I'm going to do my own research as well on the deal page and just sort of dig into that a little bit more. But if anyone's here now, share it.
Yeah, I don't know what the 2019 deal was. I think if we could, and even that might be a challenge for my community. I know we have some pretty people like Johnny, he's on here, Anthony, they go under the hood. They'd be like, hey, you're not getting this versus this. I think if we put a matrix together and just try to find a good kind of mix and says, all right, well, this is the deal. And I think once you come to that decision, I think that's something people either they're gonna deal with it or not. And what I found is most people that want that, they just want it. They're not even using HeySummit. They just want to be made whole as an early investor. I promise you, I get that. And I think that needs to be respected from the HeySummit team. Is like, hey, dude, I was running with you since 2019 when no one believed in you. And now you're here. But I think the balance is, okay, There's a cost that we had to incur to even get here. And I think what should be taken into consideration is for your company to even survive, to even be here in 2025, to even be talking about it, right? It's like, dude, if we make too many overruns or whatever, we may not be here another 5-10 years if we don't make the right move. So I'm asking you guys, my community, everybody else is looking at this, give them time to figure it out. And what I'm gathering from Ben is he wants to try to do the best thing. It's going to be a balancing act, and whatever they kind of come up with, because you guys have been more than flexible, even being here a week, and have made dramatic changes, right? And it's like, hey, we want to try to accommodate people, and we're going to come back to this. And you and I, Ben, I do want to have a offside or a fire chat conversation about how we can best use this, because I do have my finger on the pulse of the LTD community. I just do. I know it's going to fly, and I'll be like, I don't know, but I know it's fair. Being a business owner myself, I know it's fair. It's like, yeah, I mean, can you afford to do this? Can you afford to do that? And I think one of the questions was, I think people bought you guys, but then there was a separate cost that they would pay on a monthly to try to get. I think that was one of the things. Those were one of the questions as well that they had. Why don't you just give them a missing letter, man, and throw that in there? No.
But no, we are going to be bringing a monthly upgrade option. I think almost certainly. We're just working the numbers through to see what might, because there are a bunch of people that want some of the features on the success plan, and that's right. That's that's reasonable. And so we're looking at ways that we can bring that to anyone who purchases on AppSumo once the deal is finished.
So I like this, John. Again, this dude is always over this. That might even be his wife too. I don't know. She may be smarter than him. But anyway, I'm giving a hard time because him and his wife, sometimes they use the same account. It says, to address our concerns, I propose a simple tier upgrade model where we can stack and pay for the difference to access to higher tiers. It's like a one cost. Like, hey, if you already have your if you're 2019 and you have the ID to log in, here's your one-time cost to get everything up, right? And whatever that cost is. So to just be a special tier for those type of people. Now you got to sell it to AppSumo.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think that would be possible simply for that reason that we cannot sell directly, not while the deal is running anyway. And possibly for a few months after that, we can't sell direct lifetime deals outside of AppSumo. So, and I don't think they would be setting up, which is why, as I said at the beginning, my first protocol, seeing the pushback on this situation, was to immediately go back to AppSumo and say, hey, look, do you have any advice? What have you seen work well before? I want to make sure I do the right thing. What have you seen work? What's possible, etc. So that's our first protocol. But I don't think, I might be wrong. Maybe they can squeeze out a different sort of tier that's exclusive to people who've done deals in the past. I don't know. But I don't think we'll be able to create a custom.
Yeah, I don't think it's as easy as, and me knowing AppSumo and kind of knowing a little bit how their contracts are structured. I don't think it's that easy, right? Because you're talking about, they were even under different contract terms back then. AppSumo had different contract terms.
Yeah, sure.
So their contract terms from then has changed like 3 different times. So yeah, that's a tough spot, man. I mean, if whatever you kind of decide, you can kind of run it by me. I'll let you know if it'll fly or not. I'll be like, maybe you should do this, do that. And I'm pretty good at that. I've helped founders in the past kind of figure out a way through that. We'll come out something. We'll come up with something. So I'm trying to see what other questions here I had. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, Ben? I think somebody had a question. What was their question? I can't even think of their question that they had. So two things I'm taking away. You are going to come back and you're considering possibly, nothing's in stone. Because again, you can say one thing here, but we still got to get it blessed and signed off on the AppSumo side. But you're thinking, hey, there is going to be maybe a payment plan monthly to kind of help you look at getting some of the other things that are in tiers that are beyond offered, even what AppSumo is offering. There may be a monthly for that. Okay, so we got that. So, all right. And so somebody asked, they said, if I may, how many monthly recurring customers do you have for longevity? I don't.
Well, we don't share exact numbers. We had a few people asking MRR and all this stuff. We're not sharing public numbers, but we're in the thousands. So we're healthy.
Okay. All right. So that's cool. So what I'm using now, I think somebody asked me that I'm using OneStream. Actually, I think I'm using OneStream, but I think OneStream was there when HeySummit was there, and I think I actually ended up getting OneStream over HeySummit. I'm not doing it now. I need both of them.
Well, they're different things, to be fair. So
yeah, I know now that they're totally different because now I see how they complement each other. And you have an integration for OneStream for that as well. Let me see.
A few days ago. So literally someone posted it as a recommendation, as a request. Yeah. We rolled it out a few days ago.
Now, were you able to get that in so easily? Because if they have open APIs already, because I think VBout has an open API and you were able to connect that pretty fast. Is that what the deal is? Or because I think people are asking about Meetin, and I was like, I don't think Meetin has an open API. I don't think.
Yeah. So different, I mean, I don't know how into the weeds you want me to get with this, but different categories of integrations have different technical requirements from our side, right? So on a very, very basic level, CRM integrations like VBout, ConvertKit, HubSpot, and a few other ones that we support already. Those require an API connection, because what we're effectively doing is any attendee that registers on your event, we're going to sync to that CRM. And so we need an API, right? On the video integrations, so like OneStream, Vimeo, StreamYard, etc., they don't actually require the API at all, apart from our webinar integrations, because those happen outside of the HeySummit website.
Got it.
So we have an API integration with Zoom, etc., so we can automatically create the Zoom webinar, and we'll automatically register every attendee and every speaker, so that when we send people to there, Zoom already knows about them. But for things like OneStream, we just need to know what the embed code is. We need to know what the logo is, whether they need an ID or a URL, and then we can construct it. So actually, it's pretty rapid for us to build those. With Meetin, though, just to round this off, when you're in Meetin, and a bunch of other tools do this as well, you have to pick the destination or destinations that you want to broadcast that stream out to, right?
That's right.
So it's not really a case of us building an integration for them. It would be a case of them building an integration for us, which is not necessarily realistic. We might at some point reach out to them, but it's, we'll see.
Well, I know the founder. So I know the founder, so we can. If you want to make that happen,
maybe it would be, but they support destinations such as Vimeo and YouTube, which are inputs that we support. So you can indirectly and very easily sort of push out from Meetin into Vimeo, and then connect your Vimeo to HeySummit, and now you've got Meetin in HeySummit.
Oh,
that works perfectly well. Now, as a one little curveball, they do have an RTMP output, and we don't currently support that. And so we are looking at ways whether it's possible and feasible, because there's a different cost structure there and everything else based on bandwidth and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But can we build our own RTMP server infrastructure that you could then use for providers like Meetin to create a more direct kind of path out? Now, that almost certainly, if we do, wouldn't be something that would be included in the AppSumo, simply because there are ongoing costs involved in the bandwidth going back and forth. But we're looking into it.
So one of the questions is where your server is located, because you're in the UK, right?
We're in the UK, but actually servers are based in the States.
Okay. All right. Okay. Servers are based in the States. All right. Someone had another question. They said, hey, listen, I have an email list of 45,000 addresses. Can HeySummit handle that? And is SMTP included? That's a good question. I don't know if I got into the SMTP portion. First of all, I guess the question is, that's a two-part question. So do you have an email list of 45,000? I mean, so what is that?
A couple of ways to think about this. First of all, just server scalability. We've got a relatively infinite, as much as one can be, sort of scalable sort of infrastructure that responds to demand and scales up, scales down, et cetera, et cetera. So in that sense, 45,000 is not a number that should be an issue at all. The servers will just sort of handle that. But the other way to think about it is, whilst you can send emails from HeySummit, and HeySummit has a bunch of pre-written best practice email templates for the receipts, talk reminders, wrap-up emails, replays and our live, all that sort of stuff that you need whilst the event is running, all baked in. You shouldn't really be thinking of HeySummit as your alternative to ConvertKit, or alternative, it's not your email list sort of source of truth. Sure. And so even though your email list might be 45,000, what customers are typically doing is using wherever that email list is, let's just say ConvertKit, or Kit now as it's called, they're emailing that 45,000 from their email provider to tell them about the event that is on HeySummit, directing them to that landing page. And then a certain percentage of those will be interested in that event and will register. And so in practice, out of that 45,000, you might have 3,000 register on your event. And so there is a slight difference there. Now you might have a list of 45 million and 45,000 might register on your event. Fine. But from the way it's written there, in terms of that question, it sounds like you've got a big list and only a portion of those realistically will actually register for your event.
So really our initial emails, they don't initiate from HeySummit. So
not the very initial ones, no, because you need to, it's like, the analogy here is social media, right? You're going to send a message out to all your social followers. You don't need all those social followers preloaded in HeySummit simply to let them know about it. So you're going to let people know.
I guess. Yeah, that's good. That's a good
got an event, and then they'll register.
That's good. So one of the other questions, no, that's a good question. So one of the other questions was, do you have a speaker network or something like that? James Hicks is here. Hey guys, shout out to James Hicks. He has one of the best mic setups. If you ever hear him, but his question was, he says, can you talk about the speaker network and the potential value of that? So you have a speaker network?
Yeah. If you head over to heysummit.com, I think /speakers, we've got it's a free directory. It's just a place to register yourself as a speaker and be contacted by people who need speakers. And so, yeah, it's just a free resource. Looks quite nice, and yeah, anyone can use it.
So they have to be a HeySummit customer, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's essentially a separate service, but a free one.
Nice. Okay. So all right, I like that. Okay. So another question is, she asking all these questions. I know who this is, right? How many custom domains are in your highest tier? And that was a question I kind of wanted to know, but because I know you once you do the high tier, you can do custom domain, you can go in there and set up your own CNAME and all that. How many of those can you actually do if each event you do has its own custom domain? Is that what you got? And then you guys archive and something really different.
So I think we're maybe thinking about it the wrong way around, though I get why it's being framed that way. There is actually no limit on the number of custom domains, but there is a limit on the number of events that you can run, and you can only have one domain per event. Right. So in effect, if you've got a plan with 25 active events and you have 25 active events, at any given time, the maximum custom domains you can have is 25 because there's a one-to-one relationship with the events, if that makes sense. Yeah,
that makes sense. So let's look at the deal here. Make sure you guys are using my code here to try to make sure you keep the channel going, and we can help Ben come up with a favorable solution here. So in this particular, so what you're saying is that person would be able to, on the highest tier, is they'd be able to have 25 active domains. Essentially.
Yeah, 25 events. So an event, it's worth noting what we mean by event, because it's one of the annoying things, but I get, where everyone uses the word event in slightly different ways, right? So we in HeySummit world have an event at the top level, which is, you can think of as a unique experience. Right. So that could be a single workshop, but it could also be a course or a multi-day event or summit or something like that, right? So you have an event at the top level, and then in there you have individual talks. And so each individual branded experience that you are setting up is what we call an event. And so each event will have its own domain, either a standard HeySummit domain, so myevent.heysummit.com, or if you want to bring your own custom domain, you can link that as well.
Okay. All right. So that answered that question. Let me see. I had a couple more that I wanted to get to.
There was that question before on the SMTP server. Did you want me to go back to that, or are we good?
No, I think we're good on that, because what you're saying is, you're not loading everyone in there and then you're sending emails out. So if a person gets a confirmation and all that, that's coming from the HeySummit domain, right? Hey, this is confirmation you've been confirmed and all that. Is that how that works out, or?
By default, yes. If you do nothing else, then any email going out to your attendees or speakers or affiliates or whatever through your HeySummit event will be sent from a HeySummit domain. And you can obviously override the reply to if you want them to go to your support team or whatever in terms of all the replies. But that's the default. You can then add your own custom sending domain, just like you can add your own web domain to the event as at large. And so, yeah, you can have your own email sending domain if you want to really personalize it. But just a word of warning, especially in this day and age with what Google and Yahoo are doing more recently with mass email sending kind of, controls and everything else. If you get the DNS record set up incorrectly, and we'll give you the instructions and there's a video on it and everything else, but if you don't set them up correctly with DKIM settings and SPF and etc., then your deliverability can suffer. So it's great, but don't get it wrong. Otherwise, your emails won't be received by your
if you guys did send out the confirmations or whatever, you guys don't do mass. You send them out in like bulks over time, or you guys kind of got them controlled.
Well, no, we do mass, but it's a bit of both. Is kind of the technical stuff there. But yeah, we do. We will send hundreds of thousands of emails a day on some days. All
right, so let's kind of get now. Has anybody brought active pieces up to you? I'm sure they have.
Active pieces. Oh, is that what does active events mean? Is that what you mean?
No. Active pieces is kind of like Pabbly, kind of.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's kind of like Pabbly. I think it's open source. So there might be one. I don't know. People haven't mentioned that to you. So I think the hardcore people on AppSumo use the active pieces. But I think if you got the active pieces integration, then I think a person could come back later and then they can probably get in there. They can get in some of their automated types of services that they can use that's using active pieces. So active pieces would be another one. It's open source. I think you guys can have that one up in a couple hours because a lot of people do not have problems connecting in active pieces. I think they were on AppSumo a couple of times, and that might be a good alternative as well.
Active pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a look.
Pieces.
I'll tell you, if you can see my list here, we've got a list because the amount of questions that have come through over the last week alone. I'm simply, my only job is to reply, obviously, but also just to note any integration requests, whether it's CRM or video or whatever. And we've rolled out a bunch of them already, and we'll keep on rolling them out if they're possible. So, yeah.
So some other people, and I think I've seen this maybe even in the comments on AppSumo about payment gateways. Do you guys, because I think right now you guys just have Stripe and PayPal, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Are there any others that you're at least looking into as far as in any other regions? Because we know
our next one will be RazorPay.
So RazorPay, that's out of India region, right?
Yeah, essentially so. And we've started work on that.
Okay.
And the groundwork we do for that will hopefully help us speed up some additional ones if we decide to do them afterwards. Now, with the speed at which we've rolled out integrations in the last week is in part because they're not dealing with financial data, right? And so payment processing, we need to take a bit more time over it, make sure we get it right. So they will take a little bit longer, but we are working actively now on RazorPay, and as soon as we can roll it out, hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to do so, and then hopefully from there we'll be able to roll out some other ones a little bit quicker.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at all the trying to get a couple more before we get out of here. What about API webhook integration? We already talked about that. That's at the tier 5.
Yeah, we included last week.
Yeah, so you can get that. And I'm going to finish sitting here looking at the deal. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, and my audience knows this. I just keep it 100, right? And as Mark would say here in my chat, I keep it 100. This is for $345, and I'm willing. I don't know the cost, but you didn't spend $345 in 2019 for this, for your highest tier. I don't know.
Honestly, don't remember.
That wasn't a cost. That wasn't a challenge for you. But if somebody could share that with me, you didn't pay $345 for this. And to me, the way and this is me in my finance hat, my accounting hat, and $345 to me for what you're getting and all that you're getting with all these connections and all that, that's a steal. So whatever the difference is to even get to 345, and I can't count or what I say pocket watch somebody else's money. I just really believe that in this day and age, the content creator needs these types of tools that you've wrapped around this. So if it's 345, whatever the difference is to get to a 345, I think that should be, I think that's a fair cost, because if they paid 149 or 150, which probably may sound about right even for that era, if they went up another $200 to get the 345, I still believe it's worth that. And that's just me talking, and that I would do it if I had the 2019, and it's easy for me to say, but I've done it before. I just did it today on another tool that I bought, and they added some other things to it. And I said, so, well, you know what, it's worth it to get up to that. And if you want to, if you have the one that you have now, so Shevet is saying, she says, hey, it was about $20 less per code. Interesting. Well, when this goes, this is going to go up next week. So, so Larry said he paid $295.
Oh, okay. Interesting. It's not too far off then.
Yeah. So yeah, not too far off. So I don't think we're far away, because if you paid $295 for your highest tier back then I think we can get him to the, yeah, I think we got something to work with there. I don't think that's bad, because I know for a fact he didn't have all the things that he has now that they're able to get now. So 295 was a full stack back in 2019. Are you writing that number down, Ben?
Yep, locked in.
I know. So if I'm interested to know, right, Larry, if you go inside or Shevet, if you go inside right now and to upgrade to the highest tier, what would that cost be? I hate to put anybody on the spot, but I want to know how far away we are. I'm only saying this, right? And I'm only saying this genuinely. I really believe you need to have the highest tier of this tool. I'm genuine. Anybody that knows me know I keep things 100. I genuinely want people to know that the power of this tool is at the highest tier, because you're allowed to do so much with the webhooks. You now, when people register, you can now go back, send them down a sequence going back to your VBout, right? Using a Pabbly or just directly connecting into a VBout or something like that, then sending them down a journey. I think there's more money to be made now than there was then, right? So I don't know.
Just FYI, just to correct you on one bit there, you can use VBout and any of our other CRM integrations on any of these tiers, just FYI.
Oh, that's the webhook I was getting caught up on.
Yeah, the webhook is more for we don't support the thing you want to send it to, or you've got your own server or something, and you just want to send a webhook to an external service that is just a random
Larry, let me stop right now. I got to put my face back on camera for this. I listen. The upgrade is $50. Larry, the upgrade is $50 to the highest tier? Are you kidding me? Oh, come on, man. I'm not being funny here, right? And you know me, and Larry's part of my community. If I'm telling you it's worth the $50, it's worth the $50, because you can save that. Now one thing you can say, Ben, is, and I know you know this for a fact, the transaction fee is 0.75, which you'd make that back off one event. You'd make that back off the transaction fees. And I'm not spending anybody's money. I don't. It sounds like you have something that you want to say there, Ben.
No, not at all. No, I mean, it's yeah, I mean, for me, that's the more compelling reason to go on to the top tier is to lock in that 0.75 transaction fee. We are, you know, all of the tiers are pegged to the growth plan, which is our middle tier, but we've just taken one or two minor things like the webhooks and the APIs and remove the HeySummit branding from the top plan. But even the top plan has 1.5% transaction fees, and so you just, you know, for that reason alone, I think it's a great steal. I think really. But
so what Shevet is saying, she says we have to buy 5 codes. Is that the case? If they buy one more code, they just go to their HeySummit thing in the back. If they have a tier 4, tier 5, or So you can't add the codes to the. I thought you could.
So I'm not quite sure what the question is here. What's the confusion?
So what she's saying is you have to buy 5 codes, and I don't think that's the case.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to they already have HeySummit in 2019.
Oh,
They bought 3-4 codes. Then they have to just go add the two codes to the same platform.
Well, no, you do at the moment, and I think that's possibly where the main pushback is, because what we've been saying, because I just thought it was the most sensible route to take, was that 2019 codes are 2019 codes, and they don't magically get converted into 2025 codes. Sorry. They are 2 separate deals with 2 separate kind of attributes and features. And so having 3 from 2019 doesn't mean that buying 2 now gives you the equivalent of 5 from 2025, because then we would have to remove any features you have from 2019 and give you, and that might for some features put you in a worse position. So it just felt cleaner to kind of treat them as 2 separate things, and you can stack as much as you want, but they don't get converted into one or the other, if that makes sense. So that's where we are now. But as I say, there's been some pushback. So I'm talking to the HeySummit team, not the HeySummit team, the AppSumo team, listening, and we'll try and see whether we can find a medium solution there.
So, but I thought that was something that you said, hey, if I bought a tier 3 back then, if I bought 2 codes, you guys, is that something that I can just email you guys and you guys can put me equivalent to that as we wrap up here? Is that something that you said? Or because I want people to be able to take action even before the price goes up too. So let's be fair about this. I just wanted to understand, and we're going to wrap up on this because this is more confusing than I thought. Because 2019, I was on a totally different track then. So
as it stands right now today, though, I would advise anyone who is in that scenario where they have some 2019 codes to check back tomorrow, because I will be posting an update on there once I've reached a decision with AppSumo as to what the best course of action is here. So what I'm explaining now is where it is right now, which might then be different tomorrow. And if it's different tomorrow, it'll be better tomorrow. We won't be making it worse tomorrow. It'll be better tomorrow. But where we are right now is that if you have an existing HeySummit account, it doesn't matter whether you've got 2019 codes or no 2019 codes. And maybe you've got a free plan or a paid subscription or whatever your current plan is, if you buy now as part of this, whatever you buy now will simply be added to whatever your existing account is. So if you already have 5,000 attendees and you buy 5,000 attendees now, in whatever tier, I know that doesn't necessarily correlate with the tier, but just for the example, then you will now have 10,000 attendees because you're combining 5 from before with 5 now. What you can't do currently is convert old 2019 codes into new 2025 codes, because they're 2 distinct separate deals. And there is some overlap, but not perfect overlap. And so they've been kept separate in that sense.
Yeah, it's almost a case by case. Gosh. All right. So again, I want to wrap up on here.
Look, I don't know the detail. What I'm thinking will probably jumping the gun here, but I think what is probably the simplest solution is to add a bonus for anyone who already has 2019 codes. So if they do buy now, they get a bonus based on how many 2019 codes they have. So you'll get a better bonus if you already have 5 codes for 2019 versus 1. But everyone, if they, it'll be something like that. I think it's probably the cleaner way to do it, because I think it's not that easy to convert. Well, I mean, you can, but you'll then lose some things that you had from the, we're not going to create a new super plan that is the best of both. It doesn't necessarily make sense to do it that way. So might do something like that. But again, I'm going to talk to AppSumo, see what they can think of, and we'll go from there. But I will share thoughts tomorrow.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I honestly never thought this bit would be so complicated, but I get it. And I want to make sure everyone,
Yeah, I mean, but if I had to purchase in 2019, I definitely have the same concerns. But and here's the reason why I would have the same concerns, and we're going to wrap up on this, because your product is so much more superior now than it was, and I want to get that, but I don't want to pay 2025 prices for something I invested in and I believed in initially. So this is this battle, man. This is a tough one, but I believe you're going to figure it out. Ben, you can run it by me. I'll let you know.
Yeah, I will. There's a few other ones as well, and I'll certainly share with you. I value your opinion. I want to get it right. I don't want to, So I think, we've said before, and this is just nice to close on. It's about finding that happy medium. I want to make sure, from Sumo side, you need to understand I can't give away the business, but equally we need to meet in the middle, and we will find a solution. I'm listening. I care. I'm a human that wants to do the right thing at its core, and that's how we'll find a solution. So bear with me, and we'll go from there.
I do want to take a poll, and you can probably drop off of this, Ben, is I want to know if the people in 2019 think they should pay something to get it. And now a lot of people, I want it free. It's not going to be free. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be free. It's been way too many. And Ben, what I'd like to do, and I'm going to try to figure it out, I'd like to figure out just what, as far as cost and value that they're getting. Because even by you adding a VBout, adding the webhooks, by you adding that and then lowering the transaction cost, there's so much value in that. I think it even exceeds what they would probably pay. That's just me. So I don't know.
Existing AppSumo customers will get the VBout and all those integrations as well, because as I say, the core of those two deals is still that they're both pegged to the growth plan. So there's a lot of commonality there. Really, all it boils down to is possibly the webhooks, the attendee and event quota, and the transaction fee. So anyway,
if they were told if they bought the growth plan back then, they have the growth plan now. But if they need to buy the attendees and all that, I think that's okay. I'm getting it now. Okay, all right, Ben. Thanks. I mean,
my pleasure.
I really appreciate you finding the time here, and I have a very rough, rowdy crowd. Those of them know who they are, but I really do appreciate you joining us here. Any last words? I'm going to put you in a single shot here. Any last words you want to share with anyone still on the fence about HeySummit?
Well, I'm sure no one needs me to waffle on any more than I already have. As you can see, I can give quite verbose answers. But so all I want to say is just thank you for people that have checked us out on the AppSumo deal page. It is genuinely fun and informing to spend most of my day, as I am at the moment, kind of reading and replying to question after question after question, or review after review after review. And it's fantastic because, with the exception of the detail we need to work out with the existing AppSumo customers, the positive feedback we're getting is just incredible. And even though we're 6-7 years in now as a business, it is fun to finish a day with new insights into how you can further inform and improve your product. And that is genuinely exciting and fun. And the reason why we've come back again for more. So thank you to everyone. And if you have a chance to add an honest review, if you happen to purchase, those are hugely helpful to just keeping the traction of the deal going. So if you have the time for that, I'll be forever grateful. It's always good fun to have those. But that's it. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me along. It's been good fun.
Appreciate you coming on, Ben. Make sure you connect with me. Let me know. You got my email. We can connect. We'll figure it out. All right.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Trying to. I'm going to. Oh, let me see here. All right. So I had a lot of people sending me a lot of messages and all that other stuff. We're going to figure this out, right? And I wasn't a purchaser in 2019, so I don't really know how we're going to be able to kind of get this addressed. I do know it's a fabulous product now, and I commend him for trying to figure out what the right deal is. I think a lot of that is also contractually baked into AppSumo and buying under different contracts, because it's funny, like when a business goes out of business or something like that, they're still under a contract under maybe the 2019 purchase. So whatever you were obligated to under 2019 is different. Now, when you look at what you purchased in 2019, if it says, hey, you're entitled to all upgrades in the growth plan, which is what they had, then that's fair. What you're not going to be able to get is when he came back and he says, well, we've changed the structure of the deal to make it more attractive in 2025. We are now giving you more attendees and we're giving you, you know, as a result of buying it now. Okay, so that's different. Now, if they do and they say, if they added on something throughout the service, that's one thing. But if they came back and says, hey, now you're going for this AppSumo deal, you're going to get this. Now, if you go on their website and they say, hey, the growth plan only allows you to get 15,000 people, but if you're doing an AppSumo deal, we're giving you 25,000. And those are two separate things, right? And I got people blowing up my phone here, man. It's like, oh, Jenny, man. I'm like, man, listen, I didn't do it. I didn't do the deal in 2019. What I will tell you, though, I think he's going to get it right, but I see the value in that tool. And for that tool to have lasted this long, since 2019, doing that kind of business, that says a lot about the tool and the founder and what they're doing. So, but I think they're going to find a way to kind of put it together. I do believe that you got HeySummit trying to survive, right? They says, hey, we don't want to make the wrong deal because these are lifetime deals. These are one time. And then you got AppSumo trying to protect their interests. They're like, okay, so if you go around and start upgrading these people, definitely behind our back or whatever, then you're destroying the contract that we originally set up, and you're voiding the contract that you set up with us. So it's not as easy and clear. Everybody's like, oh, why don't you just do this? You know, and that's not the case. I think the most problems that we do have with AppSumo, not with AppSumo, but with founders, is they'll go out of business. Right. I think this is a good problem to have. We just need to figure out which one it is. I think we just need to figure out, and I believe that they're going to get it right. And I'm going to say for the last time, I just think their tier 5 is something, it's unmatched for what they're giving you. So I've spent in excess of 6 hours just digging in this tool, trying to break it, looking at different ways to deploy it. Tallboy is asking me for the juice. And if you've hung on this long, I've connected this with a couple of tools already. I'll give you guys a juice, right? I'll give you some juice, right? The people that hang out with me, I'm gonna just give you a juice, all right? So I may even cut this off in the final. You could use this with Go Brunch, right? I think you can use this with Meat Hour that just came back because they have the embeddable option. And I also think you can use this with Stream Studios. Actually, you can use it with Stream Studios, but I gave you some of the juice already. I know. You can do a lot with this deal. I'm telling you, you can do more with this deal than you think you can do. I haven't even given you guys everything yet. So, all right. So thank you guys for hanging out. I know this was a lot. It got a little rough. I know he was getting unedgy in his seat. I don't like to do founders like that. I mean, and Tallboy's like, hey, Jenny, you're not keeping it 100. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to keep it as 100 as I can. I don't want to put him in a hot seat here. And I work with AppSumo and stuff like too. I got to try to make everybody happy, right? I had to put on a political hat here for a minute. I want to make sure everybody's going to be able to get taken care of. So anyway, would you guys, I don't know if you guys asked me, answer me. Are you guys willing to pay something? You just kind of want to know what it is. I think that was the question. Or are you just expecting free? If you're expecting free, only 2019 people that own it. And that's only just about 4 or 5 people, I think, on here. And I think there's some people that's paying monthly for things. I think they're going to get all that sorted out. Right? I think they're going to get all of that. I think they're going to get the monthly, because I think people are paying monthly for some upgraded things. It's like, hold on, I'm paying monthly for this, and now you come back with an AppSumo offer, and that's fair. But tell me what I need to do to not be paying this monthly, and I'll just buy the code, or I'll buy the 2 or 3 codes. So, yeah, you said it's a good situation to be. It is a good, because they're here. They're not out of business. They're not sessions, right? They just disappear, take everybody's money, put it in their brink trucks, and escape town. No, they're here. And here's the thing, dude, this tool is awesome. This tool is, you add this to any stack you got, anything is embeddable, right? That's why I said I've used it. You can use it as a front door to a Go Brunch, right? You can use this You can use this as a backdoor hack with Stream Studios. I've already did it. I've connected this to maybe 5 or 6 tools already that I have in my stack. I'm telling you. And the reason why I'm stressing the highest tier is because they give you the webhooks. Once they give you the webhooks, right? Sure, we can connect into VBout, right? We can connect into a couple of other tools, but once you give me webhooks and the API, it's a wrap. I'm off to the races. I can do whatever I want to do as far as connecting in and other different tools like that. That's why I was stressing the highest tier, because they give you the webhooks. Yeah, and there's been tools that come here that charge way more and they give you less than what this tool is giving you. This is a moneymaker. I don't care. You guys can say what you want to say. So let me see. Did you guys answer? So yes, we are okay to pay for upgrades, not pay all the. So let me see. So yes, we are okay to pay for upgrades, not pay all over again. That is a fair statement. I wouldn't even be down with that. And I don't think they kind of really want you to do that, because I kind of told them, I said, hey, dude, you have people riding with you since 2019. You can't just lead those people, right? And I don't think that he wants to do that, but he's trying to find out what is AppSumo allowing him to do, because AppSumo, you guys probably don't know this, but AppSumo, the way they tie into their systems on the back end, they don't really work for if you wanted to do a deal. Let's say we did a deal, right? You and I have an AppSumo product, and then I leave AppSumo. It's not set up for apps for you to enter back in through that AppSumo gateway, right? It's not as easy as you guys think. Oh, well, you just add me to no, they can't do that. It almost has to work with a new email address and all that, so you don't enter in through the AppSumo way. It's because it's all tied into contracts, and it's all tied to AppSumo's like, hey, you want us to make you whole if they go under, then you kind of almost have to stay into the ecosystem, right? Of the AppSumo ecosystem. So it's a couple of different ways there, and I hope they get it figured out. I think they are. Top boy say, hey, new customers are not in this. So it's a very small number, right? I would pay something to upgrade. Yeah, and so this is a very good point Larry's making. This is a very good point. I would easily pay something to upgrade my attendees webhooks and APIs. And I apologize, because I thought you only had to pay $50 to get that. I'm like, dude, pay $50 to get the upgraded attendees and stuff. But it's not that easy, right? You can't mix 2019 codes with 2025 codes. That's what it is. I'm interested. Let me see what they're offering. You guys are hanging out here, so we're trying to do some investigative reporting here. So let's look here. Let's see. So let's do this. All right. So let's do this. All right. All right. So here we go. Where am I at here? All right. You guys still hanging out? I didn't know if you guys, I thought you guys would have left by now, but you guys didn't. So this is a very fair point, Larry. So let's look at it here. Let's do our own investigative, see if we can help this deal out. So their growth plan is this, right? So, so the growth plan is really only up to 1,000 attendees. Additional attendee capacity can be purchased for $120 per 1,000 attendees per year, right? Excuse me. So what I'm interested to see what that actual deal was, because the highest tier last time was growth, but even a success plan at 1.6, I mean at 1.5, the AppSumo plan is giving us 0.75. You're getting a better rate on the growth plan, and you're getting 0.75. I actually, and let's see. and you're getting webhooks and full API. Yeah, this is tough. This is tough. I now see what the difference is. I now see why it's so tough. I see why this is so tough. So it may almost be better to still keep that plan and then just buy a whole new plan. I'm not saying that that's what you want to do, but I'm actually seeing, to me, that plan is an outdated plan, because even if you look at this, Grove deal now, and I'm interested to see how many, Larry or Sister Soldier, can you tell me how many attendees do you get with that? Can you check on your system real quick? I want to figure this out. I do want to figure this out. Now it's got me buzzing here now. So then we'll end up with 2 accounts and 1 being unused. That's not sensible to me. That's fair. That's totally fair. Other companies come back with the same deal and add new tiers. What you've noticed is that, and here's what I'll say, Larry, you haven't seen companies back from 2019 come back though, bro. You just haven't. The older companies that come back, the newer companies are coming back. And here's what I'll say, and I'm gonna give you guys something that you guys may not know, right? Let me give you guys something that you guys may not know. So you get 12,500. So you get 12,500. Shoot, that's a freaking lot. Yeah, that's better than what you'd normally get. Oh, so let me tell you guys something, right? And here's what I'm gonna tell you. And I'm gonna show you. Let me show you, right? Because I think you guys are like, "What? Jenny's tripping. He's smoking." All right, okay. So let me show you. Technical. Here's what it is. Anytime you have to, and this is going to make so much more sense. So I'm gonna give you guys this, since you guys are still hanging out with me, and I got to run because I got a client appointment. Y'all not about to mess my money up. I got to be able to afford these tools to be able to bring you guys the juice. Anytime a tool asks for codes, it's a different architect. So let's look at codes, right? So keep in mind codes, and then let's look at, let me see, does this have one? Nope, that's codes. Let's look at a new one. Let's look at Meet Hour. By the way, I upgraded Meet Hour. I can't believe they came back. Let's look at codes, right? And let's look at tiers. There's a dramatic difference on the architect they're built on. They just came out with tiers maybe 2 years ago. Let's go as far as 3 years ago. So maybe 2022. Let's just say that. Anything that's built on tiers are easily upgradable and technologically easier to add another tier, add a tier 6, add a tier 7. They're easier to do. They're easier to do. And I found this just by talking to founders and stuff. But when you look at, and I'm not giving anybody an out, right? Don't be like, oh, Jenny, when you look at code purchases, they're not the easy, you can't move in between tiers like that. It doesn't work like that. Codes are assigned. So the technology is different. This is an older platform technology. It is. It is. So that has a little bit to do with it, because it's just not that easy to do. It's just not that easy to do. Now, what it probably will require, it will require Ben and them to do some engineering on their end, but it also you'd have to have an agreement with AppSumo for them to be able to do it that way. But because they don't run like that, it doesn't work like that. The tiers work different from coupons or codes. I'm just letting you know. So the back end works different. The upgrades work different. They don't work the same. So does that make sense? All right. So I just wanted to make sure that that's the way that works. And then what this guy is saying, or gal, can be a digital Plus codes are better because you can find them in aftermarket. Yeah, I mean, but that's a way of protecting AppSumo too. Or because if you can find them in aftermarket, then you're cutting into people's money, but you're also cutting into people's protection of said purchase. Yeah, so most people who keep the codes just stack and get the latest updates. Yeah, I mean, but by them changing this so dramatically, I don't think it works that well. I think actually when they introduced the tiers is how they prevented the code stacking, because people are losing money. Companies are losing money from just doing the code stacking. So now the tiers kind of marry you into the back end of the platform. So nobody's losing money. You're losing less money, if you will. So hopefully that made sense. Yeah. So anyway, so 35 10 300 p.m. on the website per month. So 35K attendees is 375. I mean, that's $373 per month. And you're paying a one-time cost to get all of them, plus the webhooks. I don't know. That's a hard deal to get by, even if I have it already. That link will show the old deal. What do you mean by that? You're saying inside of AppSumo as far as upgrading? Yeah, but I don't think you can apply the codes. Based on what I was hearing from him, he's like, hey, whatever you got, we're not going to make you worse. I did hear that. So he's like, hey, you buy some codes, whatever you got, we're going to make. Oh, he did say this. He said, if you already had, maybe I could be wrong, and you can text him and you can put this in the comments below. If you already had, what did you say? You had 12,000. He did say this. This is what he said. So this is what you're up against, right? So I think they kind of want you to pay for the webhooks. I think you're just going to have to pay for that webhooks and API. That's a cost to them and their server. That I get. But I think what he said, if I'm not mistaken, and you guys can go in there and ask him, Larry, if you're saying you get 12,500, if you get 12,500 attendees now, what he's saying, if you go ahead and upgrade to the tier 5, they're going to add the 12,500 to the 35,000 that you're getting. You're not going to be made worse. That he did say. Yeah. That he did say, right? So if you buy, so really what you're buying, let's talk about really what you're buying now as we wrap up. Really what you're buying is you're buying attendees, and you're buying transaction fees, and you're buying webhooks. That's what you're buying. And I guess active events, but nobody's running 25, 26 active events or whatever. You can, but you're buying attendees. And really at the end of the day, to go to a tier 5, you're buying webhooks. So to me, if you want to buy webhooks, it's $345 to buy webhooks. To buy webhooks and reduced transaction fee. On their website, their highest tier doesn't even give you a 0.75. Yeah. And he said, if you already have that many attendees, we're just going to add to it. You're not going to be worse. If he said, if we stack, we just add some parts of the new with the old and keep the same stat of the old. However, we won't be considered a 5 code deal with new updates. Does that I don't know. Won't be considered 5 code deal with new updates. I see what you're saying. Yeah, and then Larry's like, hey, that's not worth it for me. Don't you pay monthly though, Larry? I think somebody else said they pay monthly for those same upgrades or something. They only have webhooks on their high. Webhooks was never part of any deal. So yeah, I mean, but I get it. Yeah, 345 is a lot to come by these days, because I'm even trying to figure out. I got some stuff I got to do here. I got to make some moves. Hey, this has been Jenny Jones. Hopefully you guys like this. Music in the comments below. If you're just now getting it and picking it up, I'm going to do a hack with Stream Studios and probably Meet Hour. I looked at the Meet Hour upgrade. I ended up picking that up because I'm kind of using Meet Hour. Meet Hour is 100%. The difference between Meet Hour and Meet In. Meet In is about Meet In. Meet Hour is about me and my brand, and I can do 100% white label on that. So I really like that. Sometimes I want to sometimes I don't mind just meeting in a room like a Zoom type room where the branding is there, it's everywhere. And then sometimes I like meeting where I have my brand front and present, right? Um, so yeah. So I did the upgrade and I'm going to use it. I didn't do it for, I think your question was, did you upgrade Meet Out for HeySummit? I actually didn't for HeySummit. I did it for another purpose. I got Stream Studios I can use for that. I have this platform on right now, which is OneStream, which is a direct connection with HeySummit. I didn't really need to do it for that. But yeah, so hey, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys. Make sure you give me a thumbs up before you guys leave. You guys have been great. You guys take care. Some of you guys can call me later. We'll have a discussion about it. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye for now.